Today, behind the scenes wedding photography at a wedding that was actually published in People magazine. Come on to the behind the scenes. Also, if you're interested, there's a free preset pack for wedding photographers, so hop over and let's just go to the wedding now. You're on a different camera today. This is the Leica SL2-S, and it was actually on loan from Leica USA we were doing a short film while we were out here, and the wedding just happened to coincide with that, so that's the reason that Blayre was there, and this kind of all came together nicely. I was also using the newer 24-70 f2.8, and I really enjoyed this camera a lot. I do switch to the Canon R6 during the ceremony just because I'm much more familiar with it, and if I have time and space, I prefer this camera. If I'm in a faster paced environment, I prefer the R6 just for the faster autofocus.
Do wherever you think.
Wow, this is a ridiculous balcony.
Isn't it?
Photographing weddings in Italy is not hard. You do get hit with the exact same problem as everywhere else in the world where there's nowhere to ever hang a dress in a hotel room. So this is kind of weird. I was trying to get the reflection off the water so that I can involve the water rather than shooting the dress backlit. I'm going to show you both options. So that's kind of trying to involve the water, and then this one here is relying a little bit more on the camera's dynamic range, which did a great job of. And I don't know, I prefer that image, to be honest. And if you are a member, over on the members website, I'm going to be going through all the settings of every image I took. You can kind of see the settings up at the top there. I'm going to be doing a more in-depth learning style video for you. So hop over to the weekly content. It will be over there as of the time of posting this video. So go check that out. And if you're not yet a member, there will be a point, I believe in September, where you'll no longer be able to do the monthly membership. So if you're signed up to the monthly, you can stay in it, but that will disappear. So you'll have to do annual. So if you want to get in, sign up now, and you're guaranteed that forever. They had a full villa. This is probably the nicest property in all of this area of Italy that I've experienced, at least. I'm sure there's others, but as far as having your own courtyard, you got a hot tub, beautiful views, it's really quite incredible. And we're at Hotel Eden Rock, and I believe that this is one of the villas, if you want to look it up. Probably also recognize Mike's face here. He's in a number of different TV shows as well as film. He's a stuntman. And let's have you right in the center here, so
Maybe one with shades just for me.
Yeah. These photos are for you guys. It's whatever you want.
Oh, I'm just right here.
Hello. So beautiful location, but it reflects all of the entire sun at people because everything is just a reflective surface. Although I guess it was not as bad as it could have been. We had a nice little diffuse layer of cloud over top of the sun, which made the quality of light very great for the entire day here. Now switching to the Canon R6, I'll show you a few side by each examples here. Here's one photo, the Canon R6, and then switching to the Leica SL2-S. So I actually shot the SL2-S. One of the things with Leica is that I trust the camera a lot more than other cameras, so I will run it on auto white balance and auto shutter sometimes, whereas Canon I kind of lock it to more specific settings. Canon, I am on the 35mm f1.8. If you ever do find yourself in Positano, Italy, or maybe in a mountainous landscape, 35 is usually the way to go. Like that for a few, and then I'll probably get you to... That looks good. And then if you want to turn out around and kind of look at that, it's perfect. I'll also be doing a full video on the Leica SL2-S as kind of a review or in the field. So if you're interested in that, subscribe anyways to the channel if you're interested in wedding things. That's good. And even if you want to turn to square towards me, like that's good. So what I mentioned earlier about the light all bouncing off of everything has a lighter texture. So you're pretty much in a studio anywhere that you go. Sometimes that studio is too bright for humans, but as far as just lighting goes, you don't really need to bring any off-camera flash or anything to make a set because your set is already made for you. And I don't know if you can already feel it, but it's a very chill day. Everybody is just having a good time and everyone is relaxed. It's really nice when that's the vibe of the day. I feel like you get a much better wedding experience and a much more memorable day when there's not all kinds of craziness going on. You're not trying to manage 120 people and there's last minute things going wrong. Everything was just good today. Now that we're going to the ceremony, I'm going to remain on my Canon 35mm f1.8 and the R6 for a little bit. And then we headed to the ceremony site, which was a little bit small, and Blayre's very tall. Just always in the way. Do you even fit on an airplane so tall?
That's my head off.
How'd you even get here? So Bruce Campbell actually introduced the couple Serena and Mike, and they asked him to officiate the wedding, and I think he had a couple of days free in his calendar, so he actually came out here to officiate, which was really, really cool. We were running full video on the ceremony, which means just full rolling coverage, so we had a lav on Bruce and a lav on Mike, and we were capturing ambient as well. You'll see Blayre in a moment here.
People out here, so I think we want to start with our groom, Mr. Mike Estes.
And Blayre is shooting this wedding on the Panasonic GH6 and a prime Leica lens.
Take your place, man. It's pretty real.
For ceremony coverage, I just do my best to kind of stay out of the way. I act in a way that I would want somebody to act if this was my wedding. And while you do have to be a little bit kind of up front here, we quickly retreat to the back as soon as everything's kind of up at the front. I always want the focus should be up on the couple and not on us. I get the reaction shot. I always get the reaction shot. I think it's one of the best photos of the entire day. And then I also, the music that we're playing, I can't license the music of the band that's playing there. It's a different vibe, I guess. So we're in a more chilled podcast environment. Over on the member site, we'll talk more about the settings and exactly what I'm kind of doing at this point in the day, and some consistence and some inconsistence that, I guess problems also, because to briefly kind of talk about it, as you see here, we are very much we're in good light, but the light outside in the city is actually a heck of a lot brighter. So this is good light, everything kind of comes together, the background doesn't blow out, it's fine. And then as soon as you turn 180 degrees and face the water, all of a sudden the water is very, very bright, and you got to do what you can to kind of balance, so you're actually shooting somewhat incorrectly in camera in order to get the exposure that you need, kind of exposing, I guess, for the highlights, but letting maybe a little bit of it go to know that you're going to for sure have all the detail you need and as you can see, the Leica it's a lot better than the Canon R6 for doing that. And the ongoing joke is that there's no such thing as a perfect camera, because the Leica, well, maybe the dynamic range and everything works a little bit better. In that aspect, you lose out on a little bit of the ease of use of autofocus, so you're going to get better shots, but more of them are going to be out of focus. And I chose that the correct tool for today was going to be the Canon R6 and the 35. And one of the reasons that I like the 35mm lens, because it feels like you're actually there. When I photograph with an 85, definitely you get some nice shots, but you don't really feel like you're actually in the scene. They feel a little bit more editorial for something. That's also one of my favorite shots from the day. I guess a photojournalistic perspective, shooting with a 35 gives you a much more sense of place in that scene, which I am finding to be increasingly more valuable over time. I used to just stick to an 85 pretty much all day, and I'm now seeing the value in using a 35. And it's also the correct tool, obviously, today because of the size of the space. Also, I'm going to give Bruce Campbell's ceremony a full 10 out of 10, full 5 stars, whatever your rating system is. It was the best. Unfortunately, I don't believe that he is available for hire for wedding ceremonies at this time. The kids definitely brought the variable to the ceremony that I obviously captured all the things that I normally do, but then from a photojournalism standpoint, there was just a lot going on with the two of them, and they are definitely obviously a huge part of their lives, but also a huge part of the wedding day as well as the trip that they're on.
Let's get serious. Do you, Mike Estes, take Serena Vincent to be your lawfully wedded wife, to live together in matrimony, to love her, comfort her, honor and keep her, sickness and in health, sorrow and joy from this day forward, and love? When you look at these rings in your hands, be reminded of this moment, your commitment and the love you now feel for each other. And it's time now for Nico and Luca to bring us those very same rings. Let's give it a shot.
So as you can hear, I take a lot of photos, and I use a program called Aftershoot to help me cull and automatically and through AI cull out all the duplicates or the ones that are a little bit blurry, so I have a much smaller bank to go from. I would much rather just shoot a lot and absolutely get that decisive moment that I want, rather than just trying to pick and choose moments and going home with less images, but maybe not the one that I want.
And what?
There are a few spots that we can go for family photos. One of them is up here. And unfortunately, there's a little string tying down the umbrella. I don't want to remove the string because if the umbrella blows away, I think it's a real problem and I don't want to be liable for such things. So I signed myself up knowing that I was going to be doing a little bit of Photoshop work. All right, looks great. Perfect. And I typically give all family photos like this in vertical if possible and horizontal as well. Good. Perfect. And a few more here.
Okay, and now I just
I had to come on down, darling.
And same deal as before, I take a lot of photos because if somebody blinks, then I can just go to, well, I don't even have to go to the next one anymore. After shoot, we'll just select and maybe use promo code. I'll put it in the link below. If you do have blinks, it will just eliminate those images and it won't actually give them to you. So you don't have to call from them and you don't got to spend your time looking at each individual face of a family, deciding if that's the photo or not. You just start with all the good ones and you just decide which look you like the best. Also, all these are my presets. Again, link in the description. Beautiful. And because I knew these photos were being submitted for publication, I did a lot more of this like full length smile face towards the camera, direct eye line. Looks good. And if you want to kind of look towards each other, just so I can see a little. And you guys can hang it like that for a moment. And without going into a full Photoshop tutorial, I did a content aware delete on the string, and you can go in beyond that and repair the railing. And what a content aware delete is, you just lasso whatever you want to delete, you hold down shift, you hit delete, and it will just kind of fill the area with what Photoshop believes should be there. And it does a pretty good job most of the time. Do you want to rotate? Yeah, like that. And you can even rotate a little bit more like this towards me. That's good. So you can see even through the city with that simple content or delete that it does a pretty good job. You can't really tell where that string was. And again, Photoshop, you can do everything 10 different ways. So if that's not the way you prefer, then that's fine too. Moving into first dance and a little cocktail reception. And I switched back to the Leica because I have time to compose things and I have time to work my autofocus correctly. And I'm very, very happy with these images. And maybe just a gear thing, just because I'm using this camera or just because somebody on YouTube is using a device and they're getting good photos does not mean that you need to buy the same things in order to achieve the same level of images. You can do a lot with not a lot of gear these days. Honestly, most cameras that are coming out or most cameras that have come out in the past 5, 6, 8, 10 years are up to professional quality. I use a lot of the newest stuff because we do reviews here on YouTube and I have access to them. If you don't have access to them, don't feel like that's a barrier. I've taken a lot of my images in my portfolio on cameras that came out in 2013 because I've been doing this for a minute. Very fortunate today that a lot of things are happening. Sometimes at smaller weddings and elopements, there's a tendency to just not have real reasons to be taking pictures, or what's worse for me is when I'm in control of the entire day and it's more about the photo shoot than it is actually about the wedding. Today, very much about the wedding. We are there to document that, not the reason for the wedding happening. Although I guess I didn't even get into the backstory of this, that Serena and I were doing a shoot with Scott Robert Lim in LA and California. It's on the channel if you want to watch it. And we started talking and she was filming a movie in Rome and she was thinking about maybe eloping with Mike while they were out here after she wrapped that film. And I was like, how about Positano? It's nice. And then she reached out to a few hotels here and here we are, like a month and a half, 2 months later. Wild how it works out. I was in Italy anyways doing this short film with Blayre and also for Way Up North, which is a photography conference. So wild how all things kind of come together and make opportunities happen. So shout out to Scott Robert Lim for connecting us, and you can go watch that shoot with Serena on the channel in Los Angeles if you want. So we were there over dinner. Blayre captured the speeches. I took some candid photos. And what I've been doing with most of my couples recently is on our way out, if we are here for a shorter day, I will ask if they want to go out for a sunset session or a blue hour session or maybe an after dark session on our way out, and that's usually where we say goodbye. I like this for a number of reasons. I usually like that time to do pictures. The pictures are nice. And it also ends the gallery in a spot that makes sense and makes it feel complete rather than just ending on a random candid, although that would have been a fine ending to the day. But it's probably better to end with some photos of Serena and Mike. And we wanted to use the courtyard that they have access to in that villa as well, because up here, very, very nice. Down there, completely different feeling. And I think they also had the party after we departed. Everybody kind of went down there for the party. So there is some meaning behind that as well. And it makes sense to kind of end off at that spot. So if you're interested, head on over to the members website and we go a little bit more into this gallery and talk a little bit more about some technical things and some choices that we made, as well as show you a few more images. So after walking to Blayre, we headed home for the night, did a few edits to send into the magazine night of the wedding, and ended up being published in People magazine, which is really, really cool. If you're interested in seeing the short film that Blayre and I were actually there to film while we were there, that's on the screen right now, and you can go watch it if you so desire. That's all for me today. See you again on another time. Goodbye.